It is absolutely 100% time for you to be stepping into that most abundant version of yourself, right? And for you to be prospering in every area of your life. Do you agree? If you do, give me a yes in the comments and let me know that you're with me. I want to know, what would be possible for you if you could actually release the lifetime of subconscious programming that you have been carrying around, right? The limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck, whether that's in an income plateau or capped in your earnings or feeling like you're always on that, that like feast or famine roller coaster cycle, struggling with the inconsistency because you're stuck in that feast and famine. What if instead you could be in a place of experiencing complete abundance, right? Where you felt prosperous and you were able to really live this like ridiculously fun, vibrant life, right? That you were actually meant to be living. So most people don't realize that they have these deep-seated beliefs, right? They have these, limiting habits and loops of thinking that are keeping them, stuck in scarcity and not in alignment with the abundant lives that they want to be living. So, when I talk about abundance, I'm talking about, an abundance in your finances. I'm talking about generating and allowing in more money. I'm also talking about allowing yourself to experience abundance of purpose, right? Of impact and of joy, right? Because it all comes down to these subconscious beliefs, right? It comes down to that programming that has been developed and repeated and really like inculcated into your identity and your being, right, over the span of your life. So let me know right now if you are actually ready for a breakthrough, because if you are, this is for you. So just type a yes into the comments and let me know that you're here and you're with me. So if some of you do not know who I am, or if you're here catching a replay or watching this video later, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Alexandra Takeda. I am a money mindset mentor. I'm a business coach and a strategist, and I am the founder of Money Mastery Academy. We've had hundreds of women all over the world go through that course and create financial freedom for themselves. And really what I help women do is get unblocked when it comes to money, to stop sabotaging themselves when it comes to abundance, and really change their belief set. Step into that wealthy woman being, right? And really giving them tools to not only do the mindset work, but also really look at how they can revolutionize their business and their revenue and the way that money flows into their experience. So I love doing that work, and it's super empowering. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to alexandratakeda.com/money mastery and check it out. You're welcome to join us. So I want to ask a few questions as we get started here. How many of you actually believe that that the thoughts that you think have some effect on your reality, right? The thoughts that you think actually create your reality. So I want to know that from you in the comments. How many of you would agree with that? And if you said yes, I also then want to push you a step further to say, how many of you actually woke up this morning and then like consciously created your future? You're like, oh, these are all the things that are going to happen. This is what's coming into my life, right? Yeah. So most of you are saying, I 100% agree. Yes, I do. And then probably when it comes to actually doing that action of consciously creating your money future, not so many of you are doing that. And the biggest reason why people don't do it is because they don't actually believe it's true. Because if we actually believed it was true, right, if we knew that our thoughts created our destiny, we would never miss a day, right? We would, there's no possibility that we would let any thought slip by our awareness that wasn't in alignment with what it actually was that we wanted to create, right? And the reality is that most of us have somewhere between 50 to 70,000 thoughts going through our minds in any given day. That's a lot of thoughts, right? And out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts, 90 to 95% of those thoughts are subconscious, right? You aren't even aware of them. They're just loops of thoughts and thought patterns that are playing in the background of your mind, right? These are the same thoughts that you thought the day before, right? And the day before that, and so on, right? This is the unconscious loop, right? These are the programs that play on repeat that we aren't even aware of most of the time. So here's the deal with that, right? The same thoughts, if we keep thinking the same thoughts, they always lead to the same choices, right? They lead, and those same choices generally create the same behaviors, right? And then those same behaviors create the same experiences. And then the same experiences create the same types of emotions, right? And then those same emotions drive the same kind of thoughts. And so you can see where this loop is going, right? And I call this pattern loops because we are creating a seemingly endless loop, right? That leads us to recreating our reality as it is. The thought leads to the behavior leads to the experience leads to the emotion leads to a thought, and so forth, right? The cycle continues. And one of the things that I love to do is I love to read the science, right? I love to really get into, these concepts that seem very mystical, that seem very woo, like, our thoughts create our reality, and really get into what's the science behind that? Like, how does that actually work? And in his book, Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, right? That your biology, here's what he says. He says, your biology, your chemistry, your neurocircuitry, your physiology, your hormones, even your genetic expression will be equal to how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And he states that your personality creates your reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And they've actually done, in his books, you can read them, there's several in his books that he's written, they've actually done the studies where they've looked at taking blood tests, they've looked at the brain waves and how they change, they've looked at the energetics of the heart, all of these types of things, and how by cueing different emotions and cueing different thoughts, you can actually change those things. And inside of his workshops, he's actually had people spontaneously heal themselves from, chronic diseases because they have literally changed the physiology by starting to identify with a new reality. And that's what I want to talk about today, because it's super exciting and super empowering, because we really do have the power to change. So given this construct that we've just outlined, are you guys with me? The person you are today has created this, personal reality that we call life, right? That you call your life, right? And so would you agree then that in order to change your present reality, you actually have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about, right? You actually have to start thinking about what you have been thinking about. Are you with me? Right? You would have to start noticing those unconscious patterns, right? You'd have to start noticing those loops that are, playing on repeat, those habits, those behaviors, right? That you just do, right? That then create the same behaviors, that create the same experiences, that create the same thoughts, that create the same choices, experiences, emotions, right? And then loop back again, right? So in order to create change, we'd have to look at those emotions that we have memorized inside of our bodies, right? Inside of our brains, right? And we'd have to decide, do I actually want to bring those with me into the future? You guys, this is a profound question. So I'm going to say that again, right? We would have to look at those patterns of thought. We would have to look at those emotions that we have memorized and decide, do we want to bring those into the future? Right? Because awareness is going to be your greatest tool for change, right? Whether it's with your personal abundance, in your finances, your money mindset, your happiness, your health, right? Any other area of your life, bringing awareness to it, to your thoughts, to the emotions that you are just so well adjusted to feeling that you don't even realize you're feeling them, right? There are people who've been in a mood for, 2 months and they didn't realize they were in a mood because they're just so used to feeling cranky or agitated or frustrated, right? And there's other people that you meet where you're like, wow, they're like so in love with life. Like, how did they do that, right? They've adjusted themselves to feeling that way, right? That's what they've acclimatized themselves. And here's the deal, you guys, and I want to say this, and this is powerful, so I want you to lean in and listen up. When you have repeated a story or felt a certain emotion for years, it's easy to slide into a mental groove, right? And accept it as fact, right? And that sounds like, oh, my family is poor, or we didn't grow up with that, so, that's not for people like me, right? I can't have that, right? I'm not that kind of person, or no one in my family is a good money manager, or I don't deserve, expensive things, or, whatever that mental groove is that you have identified with, right? Because it's just a thought or a feeling that you've accustomed yourself to feeling, right? This is the biggest barrier to change, you guys, right? It's this conflict between your identity and your personality, right? Knowing that you actually want something different, but your subconscious programming, the way that your brain is organized around, keeping you in those loops, right? It's preventing you from actually getting where you want to go because you're still identifying with the you who's back here rather than the future you. Right? And this is the problem, because most people try to create a different future reality standing in the same personality and that same identity, with the same habits, with the same thoughts, with the same beliefs, with the same perspectives, right? With the same emotions, the same behaviors, right? And it's impossible, because we literally have to become somebody else, right? We have to shift our identity, right? We have to become what it is that we desire in order to create that, right? And this is why I teach the tool of the future self, because and embodying your highest self, right? Becoming that wealthy woman, really standing in the person that you want to be and starting to become her now, because it's a powerful wealth and abundance building, paradigm shifting tool that will truly help you transform your reality from that, old stuck identity into the new place that you want to go. So here's the deal, right? If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? We know this, right? We cannot create something different and stay as we currently are. There is a principle in neuroscience that says, nerves that fire together wire together, right? So as we repeat the same choices, as we repeat the same thoughts, as we repeat the same patterns, as we repeat the same experiences, we're literally forcing our brain to fire in the same sequence and the same combinations over and over and over, right? And so what we're doing is we're reproducing the same level of mind, right? We're just staying stuck. We're in a fixed mindset. We're in a fixed belief set. We're in fixed patterns. We're in fixed habits, right? We're in fixed emotions, right? And so we're kind of like, it's like we're hardwiring a finite signature inside of our brain, right? This is the box of our brain. In order to get out of that box, right? In order to think outside of the box, that would mean that we'd have to make our brain fire in new sequences, right? And new combinations and new patterns and new ways of thinking and new emotional states and new physiology that we bring up and we cultivate inside of our body to purposely get us into an altered state, into a higher frequency, a higher vibration, a different level of being, and really teach our body and our mind how to identify with a new personal reality, right? Are you guys following me? Is everybody following me? Type a yes in the comments if you are, right? So again, we cannot create a new personal reality, right? We cannot create next level of results if we stay as we currently are, right? We have to become what it is that we desire, right? And so whenever you make your brain work differently, you are changing your mindset, right? You are changing the way that your brain is working, right? You are creating new thoughts, you are driving new behaviors, you're creating new experiences, right? And you are initiating new emotions that thus bring upon a new personal reality, a new personality, right? A new self-identity, right? And here's how identity works, right? Whenever your identity is right now, you only believe it because you have evidence of it, because it's the thing that you've been doing and practicing for a long time, right? You have proof of it, right? Like if you go to church every Sunday, right, you identify as being religious because you have evidence that that's something that you do, right? If you take yourself to the gym, even when it's snowing outside, right, and you've got every excuse not to go, you have evidence that you are committed to your own personal health and fitness, right? If you consistently give to charitable causes, right, that you support, you have evidence that you are philanthropic, right? If you save your money and if you invest it wisely and you pay attention to your bank accounts, right, you have evidence and proof that you can manage money well. And this is how this works, right? These are these small little things that we can start to do that give us proof and evidence of what it is that we want to become, who it is that we want to embody, how we want to shape ourselves into the future reality that we actually want, right? And the more evidence that you have of a belief, right, the more strongly you're going to believe in it. So how do we do this, right? How do we actually become a new reality, right? How do we identify with something different than we currently are, right? How do we become what it is that we desire, right? This is the big question, because this is what actually takes us into that place of actually achieving, right, what it is that we want, right? Going from here to here, right? Going from here to here, I should say, right? So here's the secret. It's two things. We have to decide who we want to be. What does that future reality that we actually want to create actually look like and feel like, right? Who are we, right? And then the second thing is that we have to prove it to ourselves with all these small wins, right? By gathering evidence, by doing different things that actually cement that in and teach our bodies and our brains that that's really who we are. So the first one is actually rather straightforward, right? It's, just deciding who we want to be and what does that look like. But what I'm going to tell you is that it seems straightforward, but for many women, it's actually kind of hard, right? Because simply asking yourself, what do you want? Who do you want to be? What does your life look like? What does it feel like, right? What does it look like to have total peace of mind with money, right? What does it look like to be in your most abundant version of yourself? For many of you, that's a really hard question to answer because you have practiced denying your desires for so long, right? And it's not uncommon. This is the very first thing that we do inside of our Money Mastery course. We actually start to look at, what's your purpose for money, right? What do you actually really want? We create that clarity. We cast that vision. And for so many women, it's so difficult for them to write those things down because they don't feel like they deserve it. They think that they have to, sacrifice something else in order to have it, right? It's that martyrdom syndrome that gets in the way. All of that old programming and loops are still there, right? So there's a number of different exercises that we do inside of that course that stretch our thinking and get us out of that space and into, the space of unlimited possibility, right? So we can really craft that vision. So that's the first piece of it. So if you want to figure out who you want to be and change your personal reality, that's the first question. Who do you want to be, right? What do you want for yourself, right? What do you want to feel like on a day-to-day basis? What is the most abundant version of you doing? How is she speaking to yourself? How is she dressing? Where does she live? What kind of car does she drive? Where does she go on vacation, right? Who is she in love with, right? What is her family like, right? All of those pieces, right? Just start to dream about that. And, and then the second piece is then proving it to yourself with these small wins. And one of the biggest things that science has shown us is that in order to make change, one of the biggest ways to do that is, and most helpful ways to do that is by learning something new. Because science has shown us that when you learn something new, you actually double the number of connections that are going on inside of your brain, right? And so here's the kicker. What's happening is when you're making new connections, in order to maintain those connections and not just like go back to the old programming, you actually have to start to keep repeating that, right? Start to implement that new learning inside of your life, right? You have to do the thing over and over and over to train your body that this is who you are, right? It's like you can't just go to the gym once and then be like a fitness expert, right? It doesn't work, right? A fitness expert comes about because you actually show up on a daily basis and train your body and learn about physiology and anatomy and like how your body mechanics and motor, functional movement and all of those things, right? You learn about it. You do the work on a daily basis and it cements that in, and that becomes part of your identity and part of your reality. But when you learn new information and you apply it, you are literally stitching the new connections inside of your brain. And I think that's one of the most powerful parts about just even inside of the Money Mastery class is that, there are various modules that women go through, and then we have monthly master classes and coaching that help us continuously stay in that pattern of making those new connections, learning new material and applying it inside of our life, and then going to the next piece of it and learning the material again and applying it inside of our life, right? So we're literally creating the new identity as we go through the course, right? This is where it gets exciting because new thoughts, right? If we're learning new things, these new thoughts are going to lead to new choices. And those new choices are going to lead to new behaviors, and those new behaviors are going to lead to new experiences, and those new experiences are going to lead to new emotions, and those new emotions are then going to drive new thoughts, right? Which takes us down the road into that future reality, to becoming what it is that we desire. Right? And all of this leads to a new mindset, a new belief set, right? A new identity, which gradually builds up a new personality, right? And different results inside of our external experience, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with a snap of a finger, right? This is ongoing work. It's an ongoing practice. And like I said, I say all the time inside of my Money Mastery course, like even the work around money is always an ongoing practice because there's always another level, right? There's always another level of abundance to allow in that you don't even realize is there until you get there and you're like, oh wait, there's another level, right? So one of the other tools that I teach that I just absolutely adore is visualization. And I want to talk about it briefly because using guided visualization or meditation to deliberately shift your energy and your state of being, and through curated visualization, you can actually, listen to words or listen and start to cultivate imagery inside of your imagination that can shift you into that state of being of who it is that you want to become, right? Because your brain can't discriminate between something that you are doing in real life and something that you are observing in real life or something that you're just like sitting and imagining, right? It cannot discriminate. And either way, it's firing those connections. It's firing those neurons and allowing you to then stitch new connections, right? Stitch that new identity into your being. And here's what I would love to say to you. You don't have to, and for anyone who's asking this question, right? Like, how often should I visualize? You should visualize every day, right? But it doesn't have to be for like an hour of time. It could be like a minute or 2 minutes of time. Literally set the timer. And you don't have to always go into the big mind movie of like what's playing out in your entire life. But what you do want to do is connect with the powerful emotions of being that person that you want to be. So cultivating that peace of mind, getting into, even asking yourself a simple question like, what does abundance really feel like? And then allowing yourself to feel that. Actually getting yourself into that place of gratitude, right? Gratitude is the gateway to abundance, you guys, because when you're in a place of gratitude, when you're really recognizing all of the abundance and the richness and the purpose and the joy and the happiness that's inside of your life, it's literally like tuning the magnet to be more powerful and more magnetic, right? And attract in more of that because you're in that place of appreciation. You're in that vibration of like love and above and even better. And so you're at an elevated frequency and you've literally shifted your energetic body to resonate with those types of things and to magnetize and call in those types of things, right? And what I love is, inside of meditation, inside of especially when you do the future self work, you're really tuning into the truest you, right? You're tuning into cultivating all of those positive, strong emotions inside of your body that create those new connections inside of your neurocircuitry, right? And simultaneously, you're teaching your body, right? Because you're changing your emotional state into a new physiology, right? You're memorizing the joyful, happy, blissful, abundant emotions that you actually want to be feeling, right? And so the more that you can come back to those powerful emotions, right, the stronger it is that you're going to encode that new identity, right, which creates a new link, which creates the new emotions, which creates the new thoughts, which creates the new behaviors, which then create new experiences, which again drive emotions, which then start the thoughts, and that loop goes round and round again. So this is powerful work for you to be doing. The two questions that I would leave you with are, one, who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? And do some work around that. Really settle into that. And then secondly, I would challenge you to either go grab one of my free meditations or go grab trial the meditation method. Join us inside of Money Mastery. There's many different meditations inside of there, and actually start to put this visualization work into practice, right? Because these are going to be key tools in changing your mindset, right? And really allowing you to also cultivate the self-awareness, right? To start looking at those patterns and those loops that you have just been running on repeat, right? And become aware of them and decide, okay, which one of those do I actually want to bring into the future with me, right? Because that's where we started this conversation, you guys, right? If we were really, really aware of and really truly believed that our thoughts create our reality, we wouldn't let any of those thoughts just slip by, right? We would use our awareness to tune in and really identify, which thoughts do I want to bring with me into my future, right? And so write that down for yourself. What are the thoughts and what are the emotions that you want to bring into your future?